It's Tuesday the 9th of November 2010 and this is Photo Walkthrough episode number 137, a review of the Epson R2880. Hello and welcome back to Photo Walkthrough. On today's show we're going to be taking a look at the Epson R2880, which I think is a printer that will be of a lot of interest to most of you out there that are semi-professional or advanced amateur type photographers, which I know most of you are, and this is really a printer that's aimed squarely at you. Now, it's not a brand new printer, it's been out for a little while, but I've had one on review because I was testing some paper and I'd never really looked at it before or mentioned it on this show, so I figured now would be as good a time as any just to quickly take a look at it and let you know what I think of the printer. Maybe you've got an R2400 already and you're thinking about whether or not you should upgrade to a 2880. I'll try and answer that question for you in just a minute, but before we do that, let's say a quick thank you to Angie's List, who've been a long time show sponsor with Photo Walkthrough now. I love these guys, they've got a really great service. I wish they did it in the UK as well, but what they do is they've got a website and a magazine where if you're a member you can look up people in your area who will do work on your house or your garden or your car or maybe a healthcare professional, and you can see reviews from people just like yourself who have used these guys and can recommend whether they were any good. And that's the key here. You are looking for somebody in your area that you can trust to do great work on your house or your car or whatever you need. And of course, once you've found somebody, you get those guys in. If anything does go wrong, Angie's List have got a complaints resolution service, so if something does go wrong, you've got some recourse. You can go back and get help with trying to get it sorted out. It's a really great service, and Angie's List offer Photo Walkthrough viewers a 25% discount. That's a really huge discount. You won't find that kind of discount just about anywhere else. And so 25% discount. Head to angieslist.com, sign up there, and use the promo code PHOTO to get that discount. Thank you very much to Angie's List for supporting the show. Okay, let's jump on and see what we can find about the Epson R2880. Right, the R2880. Now, I should start off by saying I'm an Epson R2400 owner myself. That's what I've been using for a number of years now, and I chose it because it's got the black and white inks. It's got a solid black and then a light black and then a light black, which allows it to do very nice, very neutral coloured black and white prints. And if you've seen my show, you'll know that I do quite a lot of black and white work. Well, the R2880 is the successor to the R2400, and so it's inevitable that there's going to be a lot of comparisons between the two. And I guess the key question here is, should you upgrade if you've got an R2400? I think it's a safe bet that if you've not got an Epson, then obviously you're not going to be looking at the R2400, you're going to be looking just at the R2880. First question is, what's the objective of this review? I think the first thing to say is I expect you guys out there are going to be interested in quality as your number one priority, and that's really the sort of market this printer is aimed at. This is a aimed at a very quality sensitive market, and it's got all the kind of features that you'd expect for somebody like us that wants to put prints on the wall, wants to do very high quality prints with all sorts of interesting papers and stuff, you know, especially black and whites, because it does have those three black level inks. Now, the other important thing that I think we need to say about this is I expect that most of you will be printing from Photoshop or Lightroom rather than using the software that comes bundled. So I don't propose to go into depth with the software that comes with the printer. Really, all I'm interested in is getting good quality prints out of Lightroom or Photoshop, because that's where I work on my photographs. And of course, you can get printer profiles for all the different types of paper from all the different paper manufacturers that are aimed squarely at this printer, and by and large those tend to be very good. Of course, if you've got your own color emitter and you want to do your own color calibration for the printer, you can do that too, and you will get even better results. But I'm going to be working today purely with Epson inks, Epson papers, and the Epson color profiles for those papers, and that's what I'm going to be reviewing. So first things first, let's take a quick once around the printer. It's just like the Epson R2400. It's impossible to avoid these comparisons because it is the obvious successor. We've got two USB ports on the back now, so you can connect it to two computers if you want to do it that way. We've got a pick bridge USB port on the front, which allows you to connect a camera direct to the printer and print from the camera. Quite why you'd want to do that on an A3 plus, you know, high-end printer like this, I really don't know. I can't imagine many of us are going to connect our 5D Mark IIs to our Epson R2880 printer and print without any work on the photographs. That just seems like a waste of ink and paper to me. But so it's a feature, it's a tick list item. Well done, good. We've also got a various paper paths. We've got a front feeder for rigid media. That's new. We can also print on CDs and DVDs now. That's new as well. We couldn't do those things on the Epson R2880. We've got all the old feed paths, of course. We've got the multi-sheet feeder on the top. We've got a special feeder at the back for roll and also for manual feeding single sheets. That's where you're going to put your speciality media, you know, the heavyweight paper, the textured paper and things like that. It definitely feels more solid than the R2400 did. It's a more solid construction. My 2400, the front flap keeps falling open without, you know, I have to keep sort of making sure that the magnet's stuck, and it's just a little bit plasticky feeling, the R2400. So this is definitely a more solid feeling printer. And I've also noticed that I mean, bear in mind this is a review unit, and so it's not as old as my R2400. In fact, it's brand new. And so I think the nozzles are getting clogged less than the R2400. I couldn't put my hand on my heart and say that for sure because I just haven't had it for long enough. I've only had it for a couple of weeks. But that does seem to be an improvement. But the big headline item on this printer is the new Vivid Magenta inks. We've got a Vivid Magenta and Vivid Light Magenta, which Epson say increases the colour gamut from in the purples and the blues and the magenta ranges. And from what I've seen, it's going to be a marginal difference. But as a photographic purist, I like knowing that my colours are better, particularly in those areas. And of course, you know, skies are going to look better, blues are going to be affected by this. The Epson engineer I spoke to actually told me that there were some Epson logos that they couldn't actually print on their old printers because they didn't have the colour gamut to reproduce the colours that were in their own logo. So he's very happy that the new 2880 can actually print those colours now. They're right there out on the edge of that colour gamut, and it's now in gamut rather than out of gamut. That was nice. A couple of negatives. Just like the R2400, you've got 9 inks, but only 8 slots in the printer, and that's because you've got a photo black, which is for glossy prints, and a matte black, which is for matte prints, and you need to swap that cartridge over depending on whether you're printing matte or gloss paper. Now that's not too much of a faff. It does take a little while for the printer to notice, but it also has to get all the ink out of all the nozzles and then reprime them with the new ink when you change the cartridge. And you're going to use a lot of ink switching cartridges. So unfortunately the printer dictates to you. You'll find a situation where you're thinking, well, I'd really like to print this gloss because I want to give a print to my mum and she's going to hold it in her hand, but I've got the matte cartridge in at the moment. Is there any other matte printing I need to do before I swap it over? And now that's the tail wagging the dog. The printer's telling you what to print rather than you telling the printer what to print. Also, like the R2400, I found that it's fussy about paper feeding. There is a particular thing that a lot of people get wrong, and I got it wrong too, and that's why I had to speak to the Epson engineers, and I should know this because it was the same on the R2400. If you want to feed paper into the manual feed at the back, you don't just put the paper in and push it down. You have to push it down, and then you have to hold it. You have to keep pushing until the printer grabs the paper and takes it from you. If you don't keep pushing, it will fail to grab that edge of the paper, and then you'll get a paper jam message, and the whole thing gets very confusing. Lights start flashing on the printer, and you don't know what it means, and it says paper jam, but there's no paper jam. And honestly, this printer, if there's one thing I could wish for on this printer, it would be a screen on the printer that's telling you what the problem is, because at the moment you've just got some flashing lights, and although the driver tells you stuff, it doesn't tell you anything useful. So there are some usability issues with the way it handles paper. It's fussy about that. And also, if you're trying to choose a particular paper type, most of the printer papers that you buy will have instructions telling you what media type to choose. And you know, quite often for the textured paper, it will say, for example, it wants you to choose Velvet Fine Art as the paper type. Now, if you haven't got the paper in the right feeder, and if you haven't got the right ink in, that's just going to be grayed out. You can't choose it. So you've got to make sure you've got the right ink in. You've got to make sure that the printer driver has noticed that you've changed the ink. And by the way, quick tip for you there, if you're finding you've changed the ink over but the driver hasn't noticed, open up the consumables dialog, the one that shows you what all the ink levels are, and quite often that will kick it into noticing. So you need to make sure you've changed the ink, You need to make sure that you've chosen the paper path correctly in your printer driver to say, I'm going to choose, for example, A3 plus manual roll rather than the standard feed, because if you choose the standard feed, it won't give you the option. And then you also need to make sure that you feed the paper into the printer in the right place. And then it will let you choose the velvet fine art media that you want. So there are a few gotchas with this. It can be a little complicated, and quite often you'll find yourself thinking, what have I done wrong? And tearing my hair out. Why won't it let me choose the media that I've been told to choose? It is possible you've just got one of your settings wrong. Run back, if you ever get stuck with that, run back through this little video, and hopefully I've covered all the things you need to check there, or drop me an email and I'll help you out. So it's a little bit fussy with inks, a little bit fussy with papers, and one final negative is simply the fact that the ink cartridges are too small. They run out. Now, I wouldn't say they run out fast, but what I would say is that with 8 cartridges in there, there's always one that's nearly empty. And that constant awareness that you're about to run out of something, you're about to run out of yellow, or you're about to run out of light magenta, or light black, or something's always about to run out. And that gives you an impression that the printer is using more ink than maybe it really is. So I think the first thing I would suggest to Epson after the screen on the printer is bigger ink cartridges. I'm happy to pay the same amount again. I mean, they're expensive cartridges, but the quality of the inks are very, very good. The prints are excellent. But please don't make me change them so often. It just gives me the impression that this is more expensive than it is. The black and white prints are absolutely superb. That's what I bought the R2400 for. The R2880 is just as good. The 3 black inks are superb, and you'll get great black and white prints if you use the colour profiles that are supplied for the papers, or if you want to make sure that you're going to get neutral black and white prints, you can use the advanced black and white settings in the driver. They give really, really great results. In fact, for all my black and white prints, I tend to use the advanced black and white settings in the driver, simply because they give great results and I can be sure that the printer is only using those blacks and greys rather than using any colours. But what's the headline message here? I absolutely would recommend this. This, I think, is one of the nicest printers aimed at the sort of people that we are, which is people that want to do great artistic photography and put these prints on the wall, have nice longevity on our prints, really great colour reproduction, be able to use all those interesting types of paper. This printer is aimed squarely at you if that's what you want to do, and it does an absolutely beautiful job. Every bit as good as a real print lab, arguably better, and with all the control in the world, because you can tweak your prints in Photoshop or Lightroom and make them look exactly the way you want. You will get superb results. So if you haven't already got a printer, I definitely recommend this one. If you have got an R2400, I think I'd wait for the next one, because the upgrade, really the only major upgrade as far as I can tell, is the vivid magenta ink, which is nice, but not huge. It's more of a good feeling about your prints rather than something you'll really notice day to day. Okay, I'll catch you in the next photo walkthrough, where I'll be taking a look at some papers. I'll catch you then. Okay, that's us done for today. Thank you as always for watching. I will see you in the next episode, where we're going to be taking a look. We're going to have a quick roundup of some interesting papers, and particularly the brand new Epson papers. I'll catch you then.
Photo Walkthrough is a free online video show about photography and digital photo editing using Photoshop and Lightroom. Please help support the show by using our sponsors' promo codes or by passing the promo codes on to your friends. Join the Photo Walkthrough community, find all the old shows, and subscribe to the new ones for free at photowalkthrough.com.
Photocastnetwork.com, your photography resource in the potosphere. Photocastnetwork.com